Hey, time for another story on the Telling Bible Stories podcast with TOLA. I can never get tired of saying this, for real. Thank you so much for your love and support. It means a lot to me. I can't even tell you how much, really. Man. So if you are listening using the Apple podcast, please do me a favor. Rate this podcast and drop a review. It's going to do me a lot of good, okay? We're available on Apple Podcast, available on Spotify, available on quite a lot of podcast platforms, so you should check that out. Today's story, you are gonna love this one. It's a beautiful story about two beautiful ladies. And yes, they're good-looking ladies, but beyond that, the story talks about the beauty of their soul and the brevity of their heart. It's episode 3, and it's titled Beautifully Brave. A story about Shiphrah and Puah.
Welcome to the Telling Bible Stories podcast. Experience the Bible come alive as we unravel its beauty using today's language.
And now, your storyteller, TOLA Omoniyi.
Today's story takes you back to the early Egyptian days. Egypt had the Hebrews enslaved and oppressed so bad. They were being used to build cities and structures using poor materials. They were being beaten in the process. They were being abused. They were being really oppressed at the time. Normally, what you expect from this kind of scenario is that they will start dying, get malnourished and get tired and weak and die, and their number will start to decrease over the years. But this was totally different. The more they were oppressed, the more they increased in number. They just kept growing in number. I guess the men were working really hard. Anyway, the government examined this trend. It wasn't looking good. It was more like a threat to Egypt. Now, Egypt was the oppressor, but in terms of numbers, these guys were oppressing them. So they thought, how do we tackle this? Pharaoh had a brilliant idea. Let's tackle the population growth. How do we do that? Simply stop the birth of the boys, because the boys grow to become men and impregnate the women and then have children, and the boys, the cycle continues. So let's stop the birth of the boys. How? Simply kill them. So he sent a decree to all the midwives. It was a direct order. When you are having the Hebrew women delivered of their babies, if it's a girl child, let her live. If it's a boy, kill him. So after work that day, a number of ladies, the midwives, were just chatting, just talking about how the day went down. Did you get the email of the new order from Pharaoh? One midwife said, yes, I did. I think that's proactive of him. The rate at which those folks are growing is just alarming. Those guys are scary. Yuck. Another one said, well, I'm just indifferent about it. Whatever works for the government is just fine. There was another midwife part of this conversation who said, but don't you think it's a bad idea having to kill these innocent children? Someone immediately interrupted. Hope you remember you can't disobey a direct order from the king. If you don't want to end up being the killed. While all this chat was going on, Shiphrah and Puah were quiet. On their way home, Shiph asks Lady P, I noticed you didn't say anything while the ladies were talking about the king's decree. Didn't you get the email? I didn't say anything because this is just insane. We are supposed to welcome lives of the world and not take them. Oh, I thought I was the only one, because God forbid I lay my hands on any child, boy or girl, to kill. What are you going to do now? It's not about what I'm going to do, but more of what I'm not going to do. So both of them decide to stand their ground and do what's right against the king's decree. Now back to work, and these brave ladies, against the odds, ensure all the babies they helped in delivery of were kept safe. And this continued for a long time. As you can imagine, The implication was that the number of Hebrew male children kept rising. In no time, word got to the king about this.
King Pharaoh! There are 2 midwives who have been disobeying your order.
They have been saving the lives of the male children of the slaves. Pharaoh was mad. You don't mean this. No way. Send them in. Oops. They were now summoned to the king's palace. And when the king calls for you on this kind of charge, you can only pray to come out alive. Here they are, Shiphrah and Puah, both standing before the king. He's obviously very upset. I gave a direct order to kill all male children born by the Hebrew women. I hear what you have been doing. How dare you disobey my order? Now here's the dicey part of the story. Their response right here will be a determining factor if they will come out of this palace alive or not. So Puah goes first. Pharaoh, we got your order and we dare not disobey you. Now here's where the problem lies. You see these Hebrew women? They're a lot different from we Egyptians. They are so strong that most times before we the midwives get to them, they give birth to their babies already. That has been the case, my king. And that's why they have been saving their children from us. Pretty smart, right? Most definitely, if you ask me. This wise response literally saved their lives. So Pharaoh thought to himself, then I have to come up with another plan. However, he let them go. These 2 brave and courageous, God-fearing women literally averted a genocide in this particular season. We all know Moses today as one of the greatest heroes in Hebrew history, but he would not have been able to survive without Shiphrah and Puah. These ladies actually started off a trend. They put their lives on the line, defied the king's order just to keep them safe. And God saw the amazing work of these ladies. And He blessed them. He blessed them so well. He gave them good husbands and good families. As the Bible puts it, He provided households for them. Fast forward to today. Sometimes in our workplaces, we find ourselves in a similar situation where your boss could give you something unethical to carry out. Knowing God's will and doing it in such a circumstance may cost you your job. But just as God honored these ladies, Shiph and Lady P, He honors those who stand up to do the right thing. One thing that really caught my attention in this story is the way they responded to Pharaoh when he called them into the palace. Despite the fact that they were doing the right thing, they didn't just go all out to just attack Pharaoh and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong and we're not going to do that. That would have led them in trouble. That would have probably just cost them their lives. But they were smart enough and wise enough to be able to find a diplomatic way around it to strike a balance. I think that is a very wise one. Hey, but wait, there's one more lesson to learn from this. These ladies right here placed a very high value on life. Remember, they were not even Hebrew. They didn't even know the parents of these children that they were defending and protecting, but they just felt the need to do that because they placed value on life. And that's our story for this particular episode. I hope you enjoyed it. You can check out the details of the story in Exodus chapter 1. Till I catch you on the next one on Telling Bible Stories, God bless you.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed every bit of today's Telling Bible Stories with TOLA. Do remember to subscribe and share with your friends.